Yo, yo, yo. Hey, everybody. Don't worry. Dale is actually here today. I think he's doing some family stuff real quick right now. But
It
he
was
will be
just
joining us.
right here, but
Yeah, he'll be here any second. Anyway, we're happy to be here as always, especially with a great guest like Needacoin. Needacoin, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing well. I'm feeling a lot more chipper than I was the past few weeks. That's for sure. I think everybody can
Yeah,
kind of guess why.
yeah,
Bitcoin
things are
prices.
looking up.
Yeah, it's exciting. It feels you get kind of that like electricity flowing through your veins watching charts again, which is very fun and cool. So I'm very happy. Yeah. Um, anyway, how's the
Bottom feeders are loving themselves right now.
yeah
This is
for
this is a
sure.
great time for a bottom feeder.
well, this is yeah, and like I gotta ask you, how are you approaching this situation in the market right now? Because we've had corn doing what Big Daddy Corn likes to do best. It's been flexing all over the market, and alts have been getting crushed in the meantime. But we've seen a lot of people kind of freaking out. But you're an individual who, bread and butter is in the alt game. How are you approaching this?
Yeah, definitely taken a beating over the last few months. There's no denying that. It
Mhm.
hasn't been nice to majority of people, but for the most part, just averaging down. I posted a couple months ago, kind of about where when we were bottoming out there in like March area, April
Mhm.
area. I was saying how, finally getting fills on some bids that just weren't hitting, just lowballing too much, really. So those have been since filled, and now we're kind of moving into an area where getting the last fills, kind of just packing the last of the bags right
Mhm.
now, taking those averages down a little bit. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, just been trying to do that best I can right now.
So how do you, when you're dealing with this, because, I think a lot of people have been maybe once again, overexposed to alts. And so, for yourself, how do you approach that risk management wise? I'm sure, we've done an episode in the past and I guarantee you we covered this, but I think a lot of people right now, again, would be really intrigued to hear how you kind of go about it risk management wise for balancing your portfolio.
Yeah, so personally, I don't like to invest much more than 1% in a project if I don't have to. The reason being is there's more and more projects that are always coming up that kind of interest you. And there's a lot of projects out there that are good coins. So I like to do slow fills. So I like to do 5 different bids just in case the
Mhm.
price does drop. And I like to do those 0.2% of my portfolio in each bid. So when you're done getting your fill, you're sitting at about 1%, right?
Mhm.
Worth of your portfolio in a coin. So, and if it runs the other way and you only get 2 fills and you're only sitting at a point 0.4 or something like that, well, you're in the green, so there's nothing to
Yeah.
worry about, right? So averaging down, and then you're set up for ultimate disaster, really. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the way that I like to point my things is if the price is going to drop 60-80%, I want to be willing to be getting in on that without actually hurting my portfolio or taking from something else, right?
Mhm.
Nita, I wanted
Genius.
to ask you something. Like, you're known for having a lot of different positions at one point. Um, I think like you probably have like over 100 different. Is that too high? Over 100 different positions?
Yeah, no, yeah, I've got a little more than that now.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Probably pushing
um,
closer to 150. Yeah.
during
Good
like
God.
I'm really thinking like diversification in general. I think it's overrated in traditional finance. I think it's really overrated in crypto. How has that been, or is it just that? Is there like a certain sentimental quality to each of the different coins, or how has your experience during the bear market been? I guess with all those positions.
Well, if you actually look at coins across the board, they've been equally bleeding out. It hasn't been like,
Mhm.
some of them haven't bled out much more than others. So,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
obviously, if I was in only a few coins, I would have been hit quite hard.
Mhm.
Being more spread out, there is still the chance of a run. We did have a couple runs here, even with the mainframe that came out recently and stuff like that. You know, that was like 4 or 5x. So there are still coins that are hitting, right, when you're diversified a little bit. So that gives you a little bit room to play, a little bit more room for error there. So, oh, excuse me, sorry, dropping out here, moving. Anyways, that gives you a little bit more room for error and stuff like that. So when I look at my portfolio, I'm not basically looking at it like I have 150 coins. I'm kind of looking at it like I have 1 or 2 coins in each sector of crypto, right? So there's a lot of different sectors of crypto, and I know people like to ball them all up into a shitcoin ball, but
yeah,
when you actually start to peel the layers back a little bit, we have a lot of different industries we're trying to cover right now. So because of that, I'm trying to get myself a piece of the pie in a couple different industries that I believe in. And I think it's kind of foolish to lock yourself in on one, like this one will hit, this will be the one, right? So I like to try and pick out a few of the best ones in each of the different categories. So just to name off a few to give you an idea what I'm talking about, you know, like decentralized exchanges would be one, right? You've got gambling would be another industry. We've got a lot of like media industries out there, different platforms, shipping, shopping, you know, stuff like that. So there's a lot of different areas of crypto besides just one coin.
What someone asked here in the chat,
Yeah.
what's your favorite sector right now in particular?
Probably decentralized exchanges. I've done very well in those. I continue to play those. I like those markets. I think they're interesting. So yeah, definitely, I would say that industry for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a ton of promise in those, but I also have like a lot of questions though, because I think one of the things I've noticed with decentralized exchanges is that a lot of them are running into a specific problem, which is we want to be decentralized, but we almost have to be centralized to get the type of volume that will bring anybody to our exchange. And
Yeah.
I think IDEX is one of the exceptions that's really done a great job despite those challenges, but I see a lot of them running into that problem.
No, I totally understand. I think there's obviously a lot of hurdles in crypto. I just think it's an area that people like to venture into. You're looking at right now, some of the richest people in crypto as of this moment are exchange holders, and I don't think this platform was built for it to be that way. Yeah. So, I'm not particularly bullish on, you know, I don't like to promote exchanges really, because I think you should always try and hold your own funds. But for the decentralized aspect of it, that's like kind of why a lot of people got into crypto. So for that reason, there's a lot of reason to believe that those markets will do okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just one of those ideas that we're way too early on. That's a really good idea, but we're just not at the point where it comes to fruition in a beautiful way yet.
To me, it's, you know, a lot of these decentralized exchanges, to me, it's like the equivalent of a child growing, right? Right off the bat, you're going to need to help it a lot because it's not just going to be able to go right out of the gates running. And so that's where a lot of these centralized, you know, features come in, where it's like, well, we're trying to have a DEX, but we still have a lot of centralized features. And to me, really, it kind of just comes down to this. It's like a child learning how to walk. And then once it starts being able to walk more, you know, it gets more developed. And then, because I think even, you know, IDEX, when we were chatting with Alex there, that was a thing where it's like, yeah, as they go forward, progress in the future more, you know, they're going to be a lot more hands off as things progress more. And so it's just, you know, it evolving more, right?
Yeah, I don't even know if like the term decentralized exchange is fair. It's just kind of what it's being categorized as right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's obviously going to be a lot of change in this space, but that's crypto in general. If you even go back to where it was a year ago, some of these conversations would be irrelevant, right? And then if you go 2 years ago, you're dreaming. So, you know, to say where we could be next year or whatever is a little bit of a stretch. I also like the storage section. I think that there's a lot of room for promise or room to grow in that area. It's an interesting
storage, kind of like data storage, stuff like that.
Filecoin,
yeah,
sort of thing?
Okay.
Yeah, that's along those lines. So I think that that's going to be a very big step for crypto, and it's a massive opportunity right now. So that will be that, that's another one that I'm trying to make sure I lock in a few different styles and have a hand in everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
interesting to look back at like what your strongly held opinions were from a year ago and how those have either gotten hardened or how they've completely changed. Like I know personally there are some things I was absolutely positive of a year ago that now I think are completely idiotic. And I sometimes I wonder though if I'm being influenced too much by the crowd because when I first got into crypto, I really thought for myself because I didn't have that many people to absorb opinions from. And, I think in a sense that can be a good thing. And it's also a bad thing because you have to be open to new information and things you don't know. But I wonder like these biases that I formed by being too deep into the woods.
Well, I definitely have to agree with that in a sense. I think that like sometimes you can be distracted. Just there's so much out there on a day to day. You you kind of go you kind of go away from what you actually originally were here for. I posted something about that the other day. People were here, for a better way of doing it, or they like the technology aspect of it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And after you've been on crypto Twitter for long enough, you're kind of immune to everything that's out there, and it becomes a day-to-day thing. And as much as I like to join into the day-to-day banter, you have to remember long-term goals here. Like crypto's still very small in
Mm-hmm.
in the world, right? You can't compare it to stocks or gold or currency or the debt or anything like that. So it is so tiny still. The fact that we're still talking about a $300 billion market cap, right? So sometimes when I see a lot of the stuff in negative direction, I'm always thinking, well, what about the future, right? Like, where does the future going to take us on this? And so that kind of what drives me through. But you can definitely be distracted by the day to day with what you're seeing out there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Nita, let's talk. I want to hear about your thoughts uh on the current market. Bull trap, kind of take us through what you're seeing high level if you could.
From Bitcoin or altcoins, or what are you
Just
talking? In
altcoins
general?
particularly.
Yeah,
Yeah, in
altcoins.
general. Yeah.
Well, I would have to say that I think that we're getting to the point where sideways Bitcoin could mean the start of alt season, and I know we like to talk about alt season a lot, but
It's like a fairy tale.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, really it is. But when it happens quick. You even look at
Yeah.
Bitcoin this week, right? If you were going to wait just a little bit longer, that's 20%, right? That
Mm-hmm.
just cost you. So that's a big thing to always remember. This is why I like to average in. I don't like to say I'm picking the bottom or the top, right? I like to just know I have a good position on something that, in the long term should be worth more than what it is now. So I don't know. It really just depends on how you're looking at it. Right now, I think this is a great opportunity, and I think that people looking at altcoin prices right now, if we fast forward to this time next year, people will be looking at that like, wow, that was
Yeah.
200 satoshis or whatever, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but that's when always the best prices come. I know people used to always talk about 2015 prices. And if you were around back then, that holding those coins was
Yeah.
not easy. If you had a chance to dump them, a lot of these people would. So,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, talk about that. When we were talking this morning, you referenced that tweet you said in February, I believe. Talk about that a little bit. Do you remember the
well,
one I'm talking about?
it's just it's absolutely it's the one that drives Twitter wild.
Yes, it does.
No, but I mean, in all seriousness, that the when Bitcoin starts to go sideways, people get bored. That's when the leverage guys really get bored. That's when you really start to see
Mm-hmm.
altcoins pick up, and that's kind of how they thrive, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, I like to see Bitcoin go sideways for a little bit, and then we start to see higher volume start to maybe increase on one or two of the top 25 coins, and then that kind of leaks down, right? And sometimes it's the result of a good ad. An exchange adds a coin, and that kind of kicks things off. Sometimes it's just strictly about volume, but I'm kind of looking for an indicator in that aspect. But I would really like to see Bitcoin kind of relax right now, because as you're seeing, BitMEX is doing, they did today $8 billion in volume. You know, as an altcoin guy, that's no good for any of us, because you know these guys are not winning these trades, right? Like there's a small select group of people that are winning, and the rest of them are feeding money to the guys who are winning. So when that kind of dies down and you get some sideways and it starts to dull off in that angle, I think people tend to come back and stretch themselves out a little bit. So that's when I kind of thrive in the market.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Let's talk. I saw something on Twitter earlier today that kind of, you know, maybe made me think, and actually we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier today too, but let's kind of elaborate. I saw someone say something about TA, you know, with this market, it's so volatile and not really mature enough yet for, you know, trend analysis to work. What's your take on that?
I don't like to talk bad about my TA friends here. You know,
I don't either. I definitely
people,
think it helps.
News lead, if you guys are watching, I don't mean anything bad by this, but sometimes you're looking at the past too much, and I'm kind of trying to, with fundamentals and stuff, you're kind of trying to look into the future, right? So you're kind of looking at where things should be and where they could be, opposed to trying to figure out what already happened, which happens in a lot of cases with that. So I think it's still useful. I still use it and look at it, but maybe not for the same reasons as most people. I'm more or less trying to see where the volume's at and what kind of patterns the market maker is trying to paint. But if you're going back looking on patterns and stuff in a bear market, you know, it's going to dump, right? And then in an all-out bull market, it doesn't make sense. So, you know, like it only works so good. I know they love it when one of those charts works out and they'll retweet it 60 times. But
look at me, I'm a genius.
yeah, you can only stand by that for so long, right? I do think it is great, and I do think it works, and I think that some people are good at it. Just the majority really suck at it. And I seen some awful stuff on Twitter today. I was looking at Twitter today. I couldn't believe my eyes. There's just, everybody's a genius again. So nobody's, you know, nobody's fearful. Right? Yeah.
You get a $2,000 move or so, and everyone again comes out of the woodworks.
Yeah.
Well,
you know, you go up 20%, you almost forget you're down 80.
Yeah, exactly. And let's also talk to, I want to poke something in here for a quick second. Even the best guys, you know, like when I think of good TA guys, I think of, you know, Ledger and Carpe and, you know, all those people. Let's just, for the record, say, you know, not every time is everybody right, and no one's perfect. So even if, you know, someone's putting something out there, I still think, can't stress this enough, that everyone needs to think for themselves and not blind follow anybody. You know, you shouldn't trust anybody's calls in this space, and you should always be able to think for yourself. Well, and everyone's opinion is different. Prince's style of TA is completely different than mine. Killer's is different than mine. Needacoin, I'm sure yours is different than all of ours also, but you know, everyone has their own style and their own system that they feel works for them. So I just think everyone needs to remember that not everyone's perfect. You should always double check, triple check everything for yourself, and you
take
know,
everything with a grain of
salt. I mean, it says more about you. Let's say somebody makes one bad call that you see, and you decide to attack them, make fun of them, what have you. That says more about your lack of knowledge in the markets than theirs, because anybody who's been deep in the woods in finance or trading or Forex or what have you knows that you are wrong all the time. Even if you're a really good trader, maybe you're right 60% of the time, maybe 55% of the time. It's really hard. And so to attack somebody for that, I think, says more about you than them.
I'm just trying to
And
make
you
a
have to look at
career
a
out of
body of work. You can't just look at one single call and go, "Oh, this guy's an idiot." You know, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Maybe he was just wrong. It happens to everybody. And I kind
Yeah,
of want to touch on the
absolutely. I
point too
think
that
everyone's wrong
TA
at
is
one
going to
point.
get easier, because that's not true. I mean, TA is going to get harder in these markets because
Mhm.
the way it works is as the markets get more competitive, it's going to get harder because there are more algorithms involved. There are more really smart people who are thinking not only about what the market's going to do, but what about the whales or what they're going to do. And it's the sort of thing where TA is probably going to work the best in crypto right now that it ever will. And it probably worked better a year ago. And we've had so many people say this, where trading the markets a year ago, trading the markets 2 years ago was way easier than it is now. So it's only going to get tougher. So I take the complete opposite of that sentiment you were talking about earlier, Dale.
I just think that kind of on that sense, like kind of mix of what you guys said there. A lot of people do try and duplicate the same techniques. So right now you've got a couple hundred people who are posting the same kind of idea. Maybe it doesn't look the exact same, but the same kind of idea. So sometimes I use TA in my benefit to see kind of where the market sentiment kind of lands, right? Where people are looking at it. But that being said, you're not going to become financially independent by following people's trades on crypto Twitter. So, like you got to remember, if you're going to be financially independent and take care of yourself, you're going to have to do that yourself, right? You can't depend on someone else to give you information or something like that. And as much as people want to say they're experts in this or in this field, it's only been around so long. It's very, very new. So
It's
you
hard to
got
be
to
an
consider
expert.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
See, I'm
Well, yeah,
just
and
out
when
here
you
trying
have
to be like
like
Dennis Gartman. Just like, if I could make a career out of being consistently wrong, I'd be okay with that.
you'd be a weatherman.
Dennis Gartman, guy's a legend. So,
Well, even when you have people like Sicarius and Needacoin, you saying that also, when Sicarius was on a couple weeks ago, he said that he sometimes still feels like a noob, and you guys have been around, one of the the longest tenure people in this space. So hearing you guys say that, I think that really should resonate. I mean, it does with me, but so hey,
Yeah, it's really quite amazing. You'll leave for even a couple weeks or take a month off or something like that, and it feels like this whole space switched again. So, you got to stay up on it. It doesn't matter kind of how long you've been involved. Even things are constantly changing. Things are always happening. You kind of just have to be aware, right?
Yeah.
So
there's a good question.
You saw someone.
Yeah, masternodes.
Yeah. I was gonna say you saw someone talk about your strategy for masternodes. You want to elaborate on that, attention?
Yeah, no, I think it goes along the lines of, obviously I'm looking at still fundamentals of it, right? But you don't want to get into something that is too high of an ROI. Sounds great, but it's usually a bad thing. There's obviously a sweet spot. I don't really know if I know what it is, but I don't like to be greedy. And if you take 20% ROI a year on some of these master nodes, that is still way better than you will do in the real market. So if you find a good coin that's somewhere around 20%, you're doing okay for yourself. I think you still have to look at the master node, where they sit, where the market cap is, what the coin's worth, how much it's traded, where it's traded, what the future plans are, where they're going to be in maybe a year. Because sometimes the thing is you look at what you're making per day, and say you're making $4 a day on a master node or something like that. And the coin 10x's, you're actually making $40 a day, right? So I think that you need to be able to look into the future, kind of see where things are going to be, what they should be, and then gauge that off what master node you want to take. I wouldn't jump into some of these top master nodes, and also I wouldn't jump into some of the low cap ones that are just promising a high ROI, but couldn't get that one out.
Say
But
that 10 times fast.
yeah. So as long as you're looking kind of at projects that are building and they're constantly developing and stuff like that, and you're relatively low cap compared to other things in this space as well, right? So if you have a coin that's doing almost the identical same thing. It's like, why would you not look at that coin and say, what does it have to do to get here? Right? What's the difference between that coin and this coin, and how can we make that happen? So I always like to look at the competition, to go back to the categories and the sectors here, and kind of see, well, where should it place, right? So if you're buying the one that's at the top of that list, you're most likely not sitting in the best master node right now. That being said, if you're just buying the bottom one because it's the bottom one, you're most likely not sitting in the right master node. So you do have to put in a little bit of work. But like I say to everybody, if you're really going to lock your money up in a master node, do you not want to know what it's all about first, right?
Yeah.
You know, if I was going to lock something up for a few months, I would definitely want to know what it's all about. So
yeah, I think also like people kind of got to be careful sometimes. These master nodes that'll show they have these insane ROIs. Well, you end up looking at how like the top wallets or something, and it turns out like 60 or 70% of the coin is held in one wallet. It's like, oh, okay, well maybe I should watch out there.
Real quick,
one question. Oh, go ahead, Killer.
Chapo asked about Zcoin master nodes. I think that's one we've all been kind of eyeing. I can't speak for you, Needacoin, but I think we've been eyeing it, and I think that's a good one. I mean, it's a hell of a lot cheaper than it was at one point. You can set it up through Jin platform now if you're having a difficult time. So that's one I like.
Yeah. I agree, I guess, in a sense, in a roundabout way. But I think that, like, you know, you still should be cautious with it, and you know, pick your entry here. But personally,
cautious though. It's down like 70, 75, 80%.
Yeah, I got a thing with high Satoshi prices. I talked to the Decred guys about that when they were on Shitcoin Talk there. It's hard for people to buy a higher Satoshi coin than it is for them to buy one that's worth 5 or 10 Satoshis or something like that. So because of that, you know, sitting at 200,000 Satoshis, I think it is, something like that. Yeah, so sitting somewhere in that region, you know, I'm still kind of hesitant. I really wouldn't mind it dropping down that 150 range, but yeah, it's quite a bit.
Do you really want to like go crazy over whether you're getting in at 80% down or 85% down?
Well, if you're looking at it for a master node for the ROI, what's the point of getting in at 190 to stake 15% if it hits 150, right? So and this is where averaging in comes into play, right? So you know, if you were to average in here, you know, I would be setting bids 15% lower and 50, you know, so
gotcha. Off the topic real quick, I know everyone's dying. You know, you and I have been chatting back and forth about the Dale Needacoin Olympics. When are these happening?
Oh man, I'm down anytime. Yeah, I'm in great shape right now. This summer's been treating me pretty good. So yeah,
well, so yeah, we're
summer's also been treating me well in that aspect.
I'm sure Dale could get Bush to sponsor this thing. So
yeah, probably shield. Okay. Even though I still am kind of pissed that even though that GIF you posted yesterday with you said, what does the having sex in a canoe and Bush Light have in common? Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely remember that.
That was a good one.
That was really good. That was really good.
He's got a point.
Yeah, you know, when it's creeping under, getting to the low 4%, so you know, what are you really doing at that point, right? You know,
just tossing a bunch of carbonation into your belly.
Yeah, not just asking for a beer gut here. We're trying to get a buzz.
We're out here on a mission, and you guys are just
growing. That's what IPAs were invented for. 9%.
You guys are crazy. You and your Canadian up there. Prince just feels all giddy because he's got some backup on for once.
Yeah, finally. I saw Natso was in here. I had some Canadian brethren. It was good.
There we go.
Hey, Needacoin, someone asked, do you have any recommendations for reading up on any masternodes? I'm assuming that they're asking like how to set up. I would just, correct me if I'm wrong here, but probably I would imagine the coin would have a setup
Yeah.
guide.
Yeah, and then I'd actually send you to Mars Mensch on Twitter. So go check out him. He's the masternode guy.
I think he blocked me.
Yeah, I'm blocked too.
Me too.
Are you guys serious? What did you guys do? Did you not like masternodes?
I don't know, man. Like, never really talked.
We'll tell you as soon as we hang up.
Yeah. I've been getting blocked by a lot of people lately for absolutely no reason. So I don't know. Maybe I just have an account that people like to hate. So
he is a nice guy. He doesn't like to get too deep in all the stuff going on, but he set up a really nice guide for people for master nodes, and it helps you kind of walk through it. So I would recommend heading that way. So that's Mars Mensch on Twitter.
perfect.
Yeah, that's what Florinian or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Somebody asked earlier about
so check him out.
what hedging is. I think that's a good thing to touch on because it seems obvious to us, I think. But hedging is basically just
say that again.
Hedging.
Yeah.
Oh, hedging.
Prince, you can probably talk a lot about that, I think.
Hedging? Well, hedging's
for landscapers.
Hedging is, I don't know, it's pretty much just trying to protect the downside of one item with another kind of position setup, right? So there's a lot of ways. I think the easiest example is, say, if you think Ether is gonna go up in US dollar, but you're worried that the Bitcoin value of it is gonna drop because Bitcoin is looking really good or something, then maybe you're just long, you're just holding spot Ether and simultaneously you're shorting the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing. So you're, meanwhile, so maybe your spot position is losing some of that Bitcoin value. You're going to make some of that Bitcoin value back with your short on the Bitcoin pairing. So there's, hedging it's interesting, right? There's a lot of different ways to do it. And I think it's like an art sometimes, also kind of like a game. I like to sometimes just sit around thinking of new ways. Okay, how can I maybe protect my portfolio in a certain situation? So, but I think it's, you just kind of, everyone's different, right? And so that's the thing.
Hedging's for landscapers, bro. Love you, but no, man, we're long-term crypto. We're all here for the long-term of crypto. If you end up shorting it and it goes to 1 penny and you have 1,000 BTC, you won't feel so great. So even if it works out, it won't work out. I'm here for the long haul of crypto. I'm not gonna risk it going down for a little bit and risk my portfolio or risk some of my positions to hedge down. I understand, and you've probably done well for yourself in the last few months, so I probably gotta
there's times where it does really work, and then there's times where it can just like backfire because maybe it's not set up properly. And so for me, it's it really is, you have to be strategic about it and how you're going to go about it. So and there are times where it works out wonderfully, and then there's times where you look at what you did and you're like, well, that wasn't probably the smartest of things I could have done. So
no, I
allow 1%. So I had a run there where I thought I was pretty good at it, but evidently I was just getting lucky. So I just have like a little balance on there. I just fuck around when I am
Isn't
bored
that
with
everything in crypto? If you've done well, you got lucky. Isn't that just like how things work out?
That's how I sum it up. It's like they're like, wow, you must be so smart. It's like, I think I'm just pretty fortunate at this point. But there's some people who will argue that they're geniuses and they've had everything that is coming to them coming for a long time. And
what irritates me so much about people that say that, like, all you guys got lucky is, like, not
there's
getting
a lot of
lucky
shit that goes with it. So
yeah,
that's
like
the
getting
thing.
lucky, not having steel balls and stone hands.
And you see, when I say, oh, I'm just lucky, maybe that's just me trying to downplay a lot of shit.
Oh yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I'm not counter arguing you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the people that are like, like one guy was chirping at Cobain the other day saying,
Yeah.
oh, it's easy for you to say you just got lucky. Like,
here's the thing, right? The space is so vicious to me, just being able to stay alive and not blow up your portfolio, you're doing a pretty wicked job.
Yeah.
To me,
the
lucky part to me is how crazy the moves can be. So it's like the returns, it's like sometimes they go so much beyond what you could expect. And so to me, that's like, oh wow, that's pretty nice, but everything else, it's
I think there's a certain amount of skill in realizing that there are really crazy gains to be had in this and taking that plunge and that leap. I think there's a certain amount of intelligence, in even making that decision. So yeah, you can be like, oh, you got lucky, you were here early, but I mean, they also had the, the knowledge and the know-how to even be reading about this in 2014.
Well,
and
even
you
hear
this
guys
might be
say
really
like
thing,
Needacoin was around back then. There were times where those guys didn't even know if the market was actually going to be around in a year or so.
Totally. And they still hung on.
That's just kind of what I was going to say. So, you look at a lot of these guys that are saying that they're the same guys who are right now, they're done, right?
Yeah.
Like they've taken enough abuse.
Yeah.
The market has treated them bad. They probably got in right in January. They've took nothing but 6 months of abuse and they can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
So they're leaving. And then if you go back to 2014, early 2015 and stuff, the vibe, like everybody was quite helpful on Twitter back then. It was actually kind of not a tight community, but it was like I didn't even speak to a lot of these people, but like I felt like we were trying to help each other without even ever having to speak. We just like each other's tweets and stuff like that and encourage each other to learn more about it, because it was a very small community. We didn't have no 100,000 followers back then, right? We had 5, or we had 500. Wow. So it was a way different time back then, and people were very uplifting and encouraging. But at the same time, the market was not doing good. We seen an 80% retrace back then. And that hurt a lot of these people, right? It killed a lot of these people. But then at the same time, the people who kind of stayed and stuck it out were the one who kind of reaped the benefits there a little bit. So it's kind of funny when you look back on it at the people who want to leave now, and also chirp the people who were around in 2014, because it's very similar to how it is now, right? People are defeated right now, and no matter how good it looks for some, people who got in long time ago, or a couple $100 or something like that, it's still up a lot. There's more people that are down a lot at this point. So and that changed a lot. I remembered I put up a poll around this time last year. It might have been a little bit later, maybe into September, but I put up a poll like, who's up in crypto? And it was like 94% of people said yes, 6% of people said they were down. And everybody was like, oh, you should ask how much. This is a stupid question, and all that. And then I put up the exact same poll a week ago here, and it was basically split 50-50, right?
Oh,
so that just shows you over the course of a year how things have changed in that sense. And that goes to where we were back in the day when we hit $1,000, right? When it went back down to 300, you have no idea how many people were crying, wishing they sold at $1,000. Like, people were freaking out because they did not sell at $1,000, and that's the highest it would ever go to. And they've missed every opportunity in their life. And this is the end of crypto now. I remember people even saying as much as, we'll retrace back under the dollar, right? Where the first pump went from $1 to $33. So there's just little things like that that people just start getting. This goes back to something we talked about earlier in the show about how people just kind of get sucked into the day-to-day. You start to just feel that vibe. Everyone's talking that vibe. They're talking that way. And then look at how quick it changes, right? It took 2 days of a bull market to get people completely retraced, completely set on alt season, right? They're going the opposite way now, right? They're running the other way. So
calling 50K.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, 33K by the end of July is that going. So, we got silly things going on all over the place here, but that's crypto. That's really what it's all about. And then in hindsight, it always is easier to look back and say, oh, I should have done this, or oh, I should have, I could have got in at this time. But sometimes you have to look at it in the moment, right? Like, is this a good time to be getting in? It may not be the bottom. It may not be finished, this dump, but is this a good time to get in? Can I feel comfortable about an average at this, at 500 Satoshis or 1,000 Satoshis or whatever the price may be? But that's more or less what it comes down to for me.
And I do truly feel bad for the people that bought in at the top, and but it goes to a lot to say on their character if they're still holding right now. I mean, they're gonna be the ones that are gonna be talking when this thing finally, if it ever does, which I think it will. I think we all think it will, break the all-time high again and everything like that. So, if you're listening and you're one of them, I think if you just sit tight, and I think everything will come back eventually. So.
Well, I think a lot of us bought at the top of some point, right? So I always make a joke that most people don't go full-time crypto until like the peak's in, right? So nobody just like quits their job and then all of a sudden Bitcoin keeps going up. Like it's going to go down. It's just the way it works out. We have like a little running joke about that. But when I quit or when I left to go full-time into crypto, the market collapsed, and it does it a lot. And it's not that everyone's freaking out about this one. It's just because it's bigger numbers this time, right? The percentages are still the same.
Right. Yep.
Something I wanted to bring up. I saw an article about this on CoinDesk today. I had heard about it in the couple of weeks prior, but I don't think we've talked about it yet. Is FOMO 3D. For anybody who doesn't know, FOMO 3D is a cryptocurrency-based game where there's a central pot, and everybody who is involved in it can chip into this pot by buying these things called keys. These keys have no real value, but whatever you pay for them gets contributed to a pot. Now, within this game, there is a constant timer that's counting down from 24 hours. Whenever somebody buys a key, it adds 30 seconds to that clock. If that clock ever hits 0, the last person to buy a key gets everything. There's currently about $12 million in the pot. Also by buying keys, you get a percentage of however much people after you put into the pot based on the number of keys you own. It's completely a Ponzi. Now, my question is this, though.
Yeah, I was hoping you guys didn't get paid by those guys because I don't really have anything to
we didn't get paid, but I want to talk about this. I think there's money to be made here, fellas. I think we're early. Let's get into FOMO 3D big time.
FOMO 3D.
Fuck.
No, yeah, I actually I hate to even say that I know this, but I research a lot of coins, so I have nothing. I'm not playing around in this or nothing. Don't get ideas. Fucking, I don't want my Twitter blowing up there. But like there's POW H3D and FOMO 3D, and they are like two of the most popular dApps on the Ethereum network right now. But I stay away. That's just how most things go. CryptoKitties was also the most popular thing on the Ethereum network at one time, right? So, you got to be very careful about that. I thought the whole idea was ridiculous, and the fact that it was actually getting bigger and bigger is quite ridiculous.
People love a good scam, don't they?
Yeah, I'm not going to support or talk really about this one, but I did do the research and just shake my head, right? Like that's all you can do at this.
You don't
People
have any
are insane though. Everybody wants that idea that they're going to get rich, right? This isn't a get rich quick scheme. Like you're investing your future. Would you
Mhm.
put all your RSPs in on one thing to get rich really quick and risk 20
Mhm.
years of building your RSPs for this? That you got to think like that. You can't just look at crypto as like, I know it's fun and like we have a great time, and that's like one of the main aspects about crypto that people still love. But at the same time, you can't forget, like, this is still serious. Like we're talking about stuff that people refuse to acknowledge for a long, long time.
Mhm.
And when people started to come forth, there was a lot of money that was
Yeah.
put on this table. So don't be foolish enough to just throw yours away. You don't have to be that guy. Wait till some of these things become established, and there's going to be more games out there. There's going to be a lot more popular things out there. Give yourself some time. Don't go
Yeah.
throwing around your money.
For
I
sure.
actually hit this up in my DMs like the other day too. I was like, oh no, it's getting that big that it's got to my DMs.
Oh
Oh,
no, child. Oh no.
oh no.
That's insane.
Wow,
I mean,
it's
come
just like,
on.
I remember hearing, you read things on Reddit of guys who got absolutely just blown up when BitConnect went belly up, and
Oh God.
it was like, people were taking out loans to put it into BitConnect. They were going, pardon my French, but they were just going full out stupid, right? Like, and so, yeah, it's that whole get rich quick scheme, get that easy money, and it really can lure you in sometimes. And if it seems too good to be true, probably is.
Yeah, and like it goes with me and how I fit my style and everything like that. I don't expect it. I'm building something. I'm trying to build something here, right? So,
Yeah.
that doesn't fit into my portfolio aspect. I wouldn't be putting no 1% aside for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right, anything else for Needacoin? Wrap up, I guess. So, boys,
What's up? What's up? I can't hear you, Dale. Your
Dale, your
connection
internet is
sucks.
being like
Get the
additionally.
hamster back on the
Okay,
wheel.
I thought that was me. Yeah, I was like, what's going on here?
goddamn
Yeah,
cow got off the
sorry.
wheel. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so anything else you guys want to ask Needacoin before we wrap up?
No, we had a good chat. Good chat.
Yeah. Thank you, dude. I always appreciate your opinion.
Yeah, no, it's good hanging out. And I like to point out the fact that, once again, like everybody's still beginning in this space, even guys who call themselves experts. Don't bend the knee to them just because, they've posted something that's come true in the past. Kind of look up things for yourself and just
Mm-hmm.
wrap up ideas in your for what you want in the future, right? If you don't like the project, you're not going to want to hold it the whole way up. So you're going to miss out on a lot. So just make sure you're investing in things that you actually enjoy and things that you want to hold in the future.
That's right. Good words. Good parting words, my man. Thanks everyone for listening. It's episode 79. We recorded on what was this, the 24th of July. So get out there, learn some stuff, tip your waitress. Peace out. Thanks again, Needacoin. Take it easy, guys.
Peace, guys.